Ciao, sono Daniele Doesn't Matter e benvenuti ad una nuova Try Not to Cry Challenge. Se nella Try Not to Laugh Challenge mi impegno a non ridere con i video che mi segnalate sul mio subreddit che trovate nella descrizione di questo video, nella Try Not to Cry Challenge facciamo l'esatto opposto, ovvero guarderò video tristi che mi avete segnalato sempre sul mio subreddit e devo cercare di non piangere. E voi lo sapete che io sono di lacrima facile. Ma cercherò di trattenermi, anche perché è molto più difficile che trattenere una risata, non posso mica trattenere le lacrime. Quindi chi di voi riuscirà a farmi emozionare riceverà in regalo una maglietta California personalizzata. Come sempre, prima di partire vi invito a lasciare un like a questo video, iscrivervi al mio canale, preparare i fazzoletti e aprire il vostro cuore. Partiamo. Alexei002, l'unico video che mi abbia mai fatto piangere. Vediamo che succederà.
Sherman.
We named him Sherman, partly because he was built like a little tank, but mostly because it was an appropriately ridiculous name for such a ridiculous dog.
Squishy little manatee.
Angel and I still remember the day we first met Sherman at a dog rescue event. I immediately exclaimed something about, "Look at the head on that guy."
Could you be any cuter?
It was huge. We later measured it and it was the equivalent of a regulation volleyball. He was older, obviously, and he smelled terrible. His elbows were like thick, old leather patches. A lot of his hair was gone. He had a sort of a weird hunchback. One eye bulged out, blind, looking painfully ready to pop. His ears were almost entirely cut off. The tiniest of nubs were left behind.
We got some cuteness right there.
He leaned into being petted. He wanted to be loved so much. I couldn't leave him there.
Oh, Sherman.
We agreed to foster him for a bit until we could get him healthier and ready for a home. When that first night around dusk, I took him out on leash into our yard. The light wasn't good for seeing and he bumped into my knee. He squealed like he had been hit. He hadn't bumped into me hard enough to hurt. I think he thought this was the start of a beating. So I stopped, I kneeled down, and I loved him so hard through all that stank. I told him, "It's okay now, buddy. Nobody will ever hurt you again. You're okay now. I promise. Nobody will ever hurt you again."
He's coming out.
He's coming in.
He was great around our other two dogs.
Oh, Sherman.
He clearly didn't have a mean bone in his body. He had lots of fear, but not an ounce of mean.
Everything ever.
He started becoming more comfortable with greeting new people.
That's cute.
He was realizing he was safe with us. We decided that we couldn't give him up. He was already family. We had the bad eye removed. Later, he had double knee surgery because they were both completely blown out. We had several close calls with him. He nearly died 2 or 3 times from intestinal issues. He was a very expensive dog. I figured out at one point that between surgeries, ER visits, and meds, he cost somewhere around $30,000.
Sherman.
We don't really have that kind of money to spend on a dog, but this was Sherman.
Say hi, Sherman. Are you being silly?
I can't explain just how much joy he brought into our lives despite the hassles and costs. Sherman was no dog. He was a fantastic beast that enchanted everyone he met. People that were scared of pit bulls fell in love with him. He was a great ambassador for misunderstood breeds. All the while, his hips were deteriorating and it became very hard for him to walk. I custom built stairs that were just right for him to get up on the bed and the sofa, as he always wanted to come up for a long cuddle. His hips got worse. His anxiety became a little harder to control. He was sundowning a lot. Caring for Sherman was hard, but we learned patience, and he never stopped showing us just how much he loved us. Then one morning, he woke up far more panicked than usual. It became very obvious that the one eye he had gone completely blind overnight. Not even a little bit of light sensitivity. He was terrified. The sun had not risen this day. His world was pitch black. He was so scared. We talked a lot before that about the fact that it was getting to be time for Sherman. He was really old and he was in a lot of pain. It was time. So we set up an appointment for that night. We got fries, a bunch of cheeseburgers, and 2 glazed donuts. We fed some fries and a cheeseburger in the car sitting in the vet's parking lot.
We love you, Sherman.
We brought in his dog bed to rest on during the process. We told him we loved him so much and hugged him and fed him 3 more cheeseburgers and donuts during the process. He never felt a thing. He slipped quietly and beautifully away. They left us alone in the room. An angel lit a small piece of incense. She read a book of prayers over him while I wailed in the corner. We eventually gathered up our things, took his collar, and went home in a car that felt very empty. I always loved you and I always will, my dear Sherman. I did keep my promise. Nobody ever hurt him again. We miss you, Sherman.
Che palle! Povero Sherman, non si può cominciare così. È solo il primo video, io devo già dare via una maglietta. Cioè, piango per il mio conto in banca con questa serie. Comunque, le regole sono le regole. Alex6002, complimenti. Riceverai in regalo una maglietta California personalizzata. Cazzo di Sherman. Ymir Aesir mi ha emozionato.
Hello, Ian. Long time no see. What's the figure? You're alive. I'm alive, he says. How are you doing? I can't believe it. Someone said you was dead. As you see, I'm very patient, and I'm so glad you've done so well with yourself. I don't know what to say. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Beh, è tipico, i neri si emozionano sempre quando conoscono il colonnello Sanders dei Kentucky Fried Chicken. Scusate, devo compensare con un po' di black humor. Vox Populi, non so perché, ma... Carini, ma non mi fa piangere questo. Circhiolo, cambia il vento. Vediamo.
Il vento sta cambiando, signori, il vento sta cambiando.
Ma questo non è un video per la Try Not to Cry Challenge. Ti sta bene, Circhiolo? Mi ha anche fatto ridere, ma non ti mando niente perché l'hai messo nel tag sbagliato. Che stupido. Steph Potere, buona fortuna. Celebra il compleanno da solo. La peggior sensazione di sempre. Sì, ma questo ha dei problemi mentali. Carino, perché è bello vedere la gente che si mostra solidale nei suoi confronti, però cioè statene a casa, se sei veramente introverso, che sei da solo, non hai nessuno, cioè non vai a sederti in un centro commerciale, tanti auguri a me. Che cazzo. Devo sdrammatizzare, le magliette costano. Bene ragazzi, il video di oggi finisce qui. Spero che questa puntata vi sia piaciuta, vi abbia emozionato. Come sempre vi invito a lasciare un like a questo video, iscrivervi al mio canale e noi ci vediamo venerdì prossimo. Ciao!